Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast. This is episode 41, and I am your host, Supreme King, as always. And I am joined with my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy on Mazes.
Yes. How you doing today, sir? How's everything?
Oh, good, man. I overslept, so I am well rested. How are you?
I overslept a little bit, but I don't feel like I'm... Well, yeah, I'm kind of well rested. I'm well rested. I'm good. I also am slightly prepared. I made some like food that's in the microwave that I can eat like after we're done, so that I'm not like taking too long.
Hey.
So I made some of those them hot dogs I used to always talk about that are like really, really like addictive apparently to people, I guess. So yeah. Other than that, gaming podcasts. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the big announcement that I'm going to make a solo vid on probably this upcoming week, which is about the AAA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that's going to be coming out. That's something I advocated for in the past. And then we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's going on with Xbox and that Redfall game and the Activision deal that we keep talking about so many times. And then new Sonic game to pre-order. We're going to talk about that because I'm trying to figure out why it exists. We're going to talk more about it later. Little bit of things about a couple movies and Power Ranger stuff towards the end. And right now, I just got to give more props to the hottest game that released in the past couple of days. Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is possibly a Game of the Year candidate, and I just wanted to ask you, is it fair to put it in Game of the Year's category? Is this a fair one to do that with? Because I think it kind of is, but I could see somebody saying that is not fair. But what do you think?
I think if it was purely just a remaster, right? If it was just up-resed graphics and then thrown back out there, I don't think it would be fair because I feel like it was like a contender before, right? Because it was considered the best one, and then it'd be kind of cheating just to throw it in there again because, of course, it's going to be good. It was good before. But the fact that they added more to it to make it like even better, and all this other stuff, I feel like it's fair to throw in there. It's fair. If it's one of the best games that's out this year, then hey, it's one of the best games that's out.
Yeah, before I was saying that like Dead Space was going to be in that category, and I still kind of think it will be. I think this probably trumps it though. I know it might seem like it's a little bit too early to say something like that, but this has more appeal overall because it's Resident Evil, and Resident Evil has hot releases like every other year.
If Dead Space is going to be there, then Resident Evil definitely could be there.
Yeah. And that's right. It's the remake too. Oh, what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's a remake too. So yeah. 2 remakes though in the Game of the Year category. That's interesting. Because so far, to me, I think it's going to be Dead Space for everything that came out so far. Dead Space, Resident Evil, and then Hogwarts Legacy is definitely in that category.
Yep. And I think the other three, will be coming out this year too, like soon.
So yeah, and we'll talk about it in a second. Spider-Man 2 is also rumored, or I guess somewhat confirmed, to come out on September. I almost said September 2nd. That's not true. We don't know. We just know it's September.
Yep.
And
so Tony Todd, the voice of Venom, accidentally leaked when people were like, "I'm excited for the game." And he's like, "Me too, man. September." Like it's like very cool technology. Talk about how gonna go advertising crazy in August and all this other stuff.
He gave away too much.
Yeah, he deleted it now, but
that's too late. That's too late. There's no such thing as deleting on the internet. No such thing. But yeah, so that's for a game that's going to come out. That's going to be in a category. So that would be like the 4th one. And
I think
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, that's going to be 5.
And Starfield.
Starfield, see, that's the one I would like for that one to be number 6. But it's up in the air a little bit. it's up in the air a little bit. I don't think that it will win. I'm kind of like, I don't know if that will win. Um, I'm actually, this is probably the one time I don't know what will win at all. Like it's kind of just, it could be any one of these, but
I would
um,
say, well, as of now, for me, it would
yeah,
be Hogwarts. Uh,
okay,
like I'm almost done with the game finally, but there's still so much to do. Like after I'm almost done with the main story, but
okay,
I just feel like it was one. It was a game that came out that was just working to start, like for the most part, like which
yeah,
was nice. Which I think all three of the ones we
yeah. I was
mentioned
gonna
have.
say everything
Yeah.
so far didn't have too much bad going on. Like,
Yeah. So I think it's a really fun game and everything. So that's for me right now, right? But of course, we gotta see how Spider-Man goes, how Tears of the Kingdom go. And who knows? Maybe Starfield is. If not Starfield, do you think Remnant 2 could make it?
I think Remnant 2 might make one of the action game categories. I would be super surprised if that one makes it that far. I would push and advocate on my channel as much as I could if it's really good. But I'm not sure if it has the same notoriety because everything else that's going to be mentioned has like a really, really like anticipation or like it has a fan base or it has something going on, something to make it like bigger than just the game itself. Where
Yeah.
that one would be just the game itself. Like almost everything else is like with Resident Evil is like, okay, the original one was considered one of the best. It's ported on almost everything and it's like a must play. And so this was going to be the remake of the classic. Can they, keep that same steam? Typically any remake of a classic usually don't, unless it's like a remake of something on Super Nintendo or something. And this is one where they actually did it. And so like
Yeah.
that's its thing. And then something like Starfield is like the most anticipated big Xbox release. And then there was like controversy around which system it should be on and stuff for a while and all of that noise. And like like each thing has something extra. Breath of the Wild 2, same thing. Biggest game that's going to be coming out on the Switch. And then also it also has like some conversation around it being like a $70 game when it's like not next gen hardware.
Yeah.
It's not just the game. Spider-Man 2 is another one like where it's such a huge franchise in itself, movies everywhere, all this other stuff, conversation around how much of which Spider-Man you're going to play as and stuff. And like that one, it has already a transcendent audience, probably the biggest transcendent audience out of everything. And then there's Hogwarts, which is kind of the same way. People big into the books, big into the movies, and then it had its own controversy that we don't have to get into. And it's like, well, Remnant will be just the game. And maybe you can say like, okay,
That's true.
the dogs might be a thing. Like if the pet thing might really catch on because they leaned on that heavy and it worked for them. As far as like notoriety and like views and stuff, a lot of people was paying attention to that. I was shocked because it was like typically something like Remnant wouldn't get those type of views, but this is its chance to catapult the franchise to being in the same category as the other games that we've named. But Remnant starts off as like at the very least in the eyes of a Souls player, like a clone, like a different
True.
take on a clone. And
True.
so this is his chance to be like, look, I'm not a clone. I am the shooter Souls game or something. So we'll see on that.
It can
Like,
define itself as the shooter Souls game or even the co-op Souls game, like specifically,
yeah,
which might grow a bigger fan base with everybody jumping into like the Souls games because of Elden Ring. But of
yeah.
course, everybody wanted to work together, and then this is a game that like integrates working together very easily. Uh, I don't know. It could be a surprise hit.
Yeah. I will say like if they only do 6 games in the category of game of the year, definitely Remnant is probably 7. I don't know what else is there, unless you want to see what if Redfall really is as good as it's going to be.
True.
We'll talk about Redfall just a little bit later. But yeah, it looked like it's going to be a stacked game of the year list. Because if you looked at the years prior, like especially the one when It Take Two won, it would look like they just threw whatever they could up there. Like, no disrespect to It Takes Two and like the rest of them, but
I thought It Takes Two was a fantastic game. But I
yeah,
will say it was like, oh, game of the year, okay, like interesting.
it
Like I
looked
thought
like
it was a great game, but not like
it looked like just
yeah. I
threw
get what you're
everything
saying.
up there and they just kind of like whatever sticks. Same thing with God of War versus Elden Ring's year. Like, it looked like the rest of them were kind of there. Like I know probably from the fan base, Horizon Forbidden West, people probably wanted it to win something at least, but that was one of them where
Same
they
for
didn't win.
Xenoblade.
Yeah, that didn't win anything either. I think A Plague's Tale Requiem was there, and I don't think that won anything. Like those are ones where it's just like they're kind of just threw something there to fill in the rest of the space. But when you look at this year, everything looks like it belongs there. You know, everything looks like it belongs there so far. Very stacked year.
Yeah,
So
for
far.
sure. Which is great for the gamer.
Heck yeah, because everything that's on that list, I'm gonna get. Like, some stuff I don't have yet, I'm gonna have everything. On this list, but the last 2 years there are certain games there that's like I was missing, like I didn't get to them yet or didn't buy them. Like, you ever see that, like in the past 2 years, like there's a game or two that's on the game of the year list and you have no interest in? Like, that shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
You know, that really shouldn't be. But this year is like everything that's on the list I have interest in, like a lot of interest in, and that's how a game of the year category should be. You know, yeah, we can wrap this segment up. Much props to Resident Evil 4 for being able to do a remake and actually do it correctly. It's hot. Everybody's on the trend, at least on Twitch from what I was seeing and everything else. And yeah, I think for the people out there, still play the original one too. If you have it, play both. Play them probably back to back and see both perspectives. Because there was a lot of people who thought that the original Resident Evil didn't need to be remade because it was
that
perfect.
good?
Yeah, people were saying it was perfect, that good. It was like one of the first versions of an over-the-shoulder action adventure game where the template pretty much revolutionized like gaming in a way. No disrespect to probably Super Mario, because I know that's technically third person too, but like that one was where like it's up close over the shoulder. You know, but
Right.
I guess real quick, I can say still going forward now, all you got left is 5 and 6 for Resident Evil.
Let's go. I
That's all
want
you
those
got.
remade. Don't jump to 7. I want 5 and 6 remade.
Yeah,
Let's
it wouldn't make
go.
sense to do it on 7 either, because 7 is like already in that same
Well,
quality.
they released The Last of Us Part 2 several
Yeah,
times.
maybe.
Last of Us. So
Yeah. I think 6, honestly 6 does still look like the graphically and stuff that is fine. 5 looked like 4 to me.
yeah.
5 kind of looks like 4 just a little bit, like the textures are a little bit better. So I think 5 for sure should be remade. But
They can easily make it a little scarier if they want, right? Really focus there. Still have the action stuff. Make the AI a little smarter if you have to play solo. And
I honestly think
you
they're
gotta
going to
leave the
change it
boulder
though.
punch. But
I
you gotta
think
leave the boulder punch. That's iconic. That's a phrase, punching the boulder. You gotta leave it.
I think they're going to change the setting though. Because you remember the little heat that they got for them being in Africa.
Oh yeah.
I think they're gonna change the setting,
Oh boo.
and they might not have as much of the game being during the day, because that was another thing that people didn't like. But at the very least, Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remake quality in co-op, that's hot. I think that would be hot. They have to do the co-op elements because it was very, very co-op like centric in a way. So that
True.
I would still like to see. Yeah, if they do it like that and it looks like 4, 3, and 2, and it's co-op definitely day one. We could be all up on that for real. If it's the same quality as the 4 remake. But I think what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to do 9, Resident Evil 9, and then there was one that was rumored before, but I don't know if it's still a thing, where it was supposed to be exclusive to Nintendo first.
Interesting.
And it was one called Revelations 3, or I think they were going to change it to Operations or something. It was going to feature Rebecca Chambers from Resident Evil 0 and 1, and she was going to come back, and they were going to try to like make her just as big as like the rest of them just for that one game. And it was supposed to start on Nintendo, and then it was supposed to be multi-plat shortly after. I think that was all rumors. I don't know if it was confirmed. I think just like Capcom's information got out at one point. But 9 is supposed to happen before that, though. I think that's almost confirmed. It's okay. pretty like cut and dry at this point, because like the Resident Evil oil train is not stopping. Like, so we can expect 9. And then I think you're gonna get that one. Then you might get the 5. But I wouldn't want them to just be like, okay, we're just moving forward and it's 9, 10, 11. Like, no, give us 5 too. Like, do another 5. I would like to see it. I wonder how they would do Wesker as far as like him being in the Neo form, when he was just like in control of what's her name? Jill. Jill had like the spider on her chest. You remember all that? Like,
oh yeah, I remember. They just got to make it more Blade-like.
Yeah. So I would like to see it, and maybe we'll see more Game of the Year contender Resident Evil. So the more the
maybe
merrier.
People will actually start to respect 5 if they remake it.
Because I'm one of the only people who didn't think it was bad. Now, I also understand from playing the originals, I understand where people were saying this isn't Resident Evil anymore. It deviated too much, because that one was playing off of like the movies in a way. And they pretty much did with the Wesker part. Like that whole sequence of him being Neo and everything, like that was Wesker from the movies. And they had a whole nother character that was like exclusive to the movies. Oh girl, I forgot her name, but yeah. So I could see why people would say that, because if you play Resident Evil 0 and 1, completely different atmosphere, completely different feel, and 1 was a classic, right? So I would like to see what they do with it. But yeah, we can move on. Hottest news to come out, because this was a big deal for me. The AAA TMNT game is announced to be in the works. How do you feel about this?
I think it's cool. It's a little weird that they're skipping over any sort of AAA 4-player or like all 4 character one and going straight for the last Ronin story. Which, for anybody who doesn't know, without spoiling who's who, basically one turtle remains. And they're trying to, I guess, get revenge for the other 3. So it is kind of weird that they're jumping to that one. Yeah. But should still be a great game. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. There was 3 games, or 3 series that I said I wanted a AAA game for. We was talking about the Ninja Turtles too, like last week when we was playing Division, because we kept going in the basement areas and stuff and going down the sewers, and like they can make this. They can make this. So they finally making it. So yeah, I wanted a turtle game like that. We were saying we wanted to be like more, almost everything was like more Arkham style, right? And then the next one was Power Rangers. So I'm going to advocate for that again. I'm going to make a solo video for this.
Which I did hear that TMNT was going to be more God of War style. That's how they said it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But
which kind of actually makes a little sense if you look at how Kratos was twirling like his blades and stuff, and he's doing like that's kind of what a turtle would do in a way, almost.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So I'm hoping This opens the door for Power Rangers AAA.
So yeah, the Power Rangers AAA was another one, and then another Transformer game that is very similar to the play style of Fall of Cybertron and War of Cybertron. Those were the three. And so one of the three is happening. They're actually announcing it, because before we found out about the Power Ranger one was actually happening, but behind the scenes, and they didn't make any announcement, and then they just canceled it. And so they have a little bit more of like confidence, I guess, in the turtle one to just announce it before even making anything. Or do you think they have already started?
I think they already started.
You think they already started?
I think it's already works. And it was weirdly announced. Like, it was just like kind of just dropped in a sentence on Twitter from like some site that I never heard of. Like, it was like I just opened up Twitter and it was like a minute ago. They were just like AAA Ninja Turtle Last Ronin game in the works. And I'm like, that's not real. And then all of a sudden, like when I refreshed Twitter 10 minutes later, it was like all the trustworthy news sources that I've heard of was also posting it with links. And I'm like, okay, so I think they're already working on it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, but it could be that they haven't yet. It could be a similar thing to when Deadpool was getting his own movie, and they just like dropped a trailer to get like fan interest, and then once they saw fan interest, they decided to make it. It could be that to see like, do people actually even want this before they continue working on it? It's like their way of proving, people do. Which I just wish they would have done that for the Power Ranger one.
Yeah.
Like, it would have built up so much hype, and then they would have been like, all right, let's make it.
But you know what probably did it? I think this probably what did it. Like, you remember that Spider-Man mod that was done like about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, where it was Spider-Man 2018 or Miles Morales, one of those two, and somebody modded, coincidentally enough, I think it was Michelangelo, or it might have been Raphael, but they modded one of the turtles to be Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened was it got a lot of traction, and people were making a lot of YouTube videos on that, and it was popular.
And that's probably what did it.
And people was like, "Oh, what if they make this?" And a lot of people was seeing it and seeing how it worked, and like he was just jumping all over the place, all over the city, and you're trying your hardest not to use the web swinging. I remember that's what I was seeing, but it was still a lot of Spider-Man assets in there, like the voice and like some of the stuff he does. So he was clearly just like a skin over, but it was done to look very, very like realistic, like, and that got a lot of praise. And afterwards, it died back down. We never heard of it again. And then we get to this point where it's just like, bam, somebody put money behind it. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's probably what did it. That combined with The Last Ronin having some good sales.
Yeah.
New Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out this year, I think.
So it has a lot of the same formula of what Power Rangers did. It was just the movie didn't do so good, and so they scrapped everything else. You remember?
Yeah, which there is a fan base, with me included, that all felt like the movie should have got a sequel. But
I remember also hearing that one had like 6 movie arc all together or something. I was like, how y'all
supposed to go all the way to in space, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. They was like okaying it and then stopped, and then it was just like the news of it possibly having like a remake, and then they scrapped the whole cast or something like that, and it was just like, what is happening? And then the news just kind of died back down again.
Yeah, but there is a new one that should be coming out because of the new guy in charge, and they're really planning everything out. And so far, so good. It's been good.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. I'll have to support it for sure, because I want to see more of Power Rangers. And
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. Like, so yeah, this game should be good.
I'm all for the game, not so much the TV show where they turn April into Missy Elliott. I don't know if I'm gonna watch that.
Movie?
That movie, yeah, I don't know. I might have a hard pass on that one. Or if it come
I'll
up
probably
on
still go see it.
If it come up on Tubi or something, I might watch it, or Netflix.
Yeah, I'll still go see it. The art style I like. I mean, not how she's drawn, but the animation style. Like it's very
Yeah,
similar to the Into the Spider-Verse. Like it is different enough, but still
yeah.
similar to it. And I've been really liking that animation style.
I'm surprised they kind of just let that other version of Teenage Mutant Turtles just go away. The one that had Seamus in it. Like I'm
Yeah,
surprised they didn't just do a third film of that. Like did
I
that
don't know
just
if it
not
was like it went away. I feel like they like finished
like that was just
to a
it? They
degree.
just
Yeah.
I remember that was like one of the first movies that I tested my 4K TV on. And I was just like,
Okay.
yo, it just looked great. Like certain parts was just looking great. But yeah, I guess I don't know. But at least the franchise is still going. Even though they're tinkering with it here and there, you might not agree with everything. At least you have options within the franchise, you know.
Yeah.
Just like with Resident Evil, like Resident Evil is still coming out with hot games, even though the shows and movies is probably not so good. But that also remind me real quick, I guess, to make a another announcement for Resident Evil. There was still a movie involving Leon that's supposed to come out in this summertime. I forgot what it was called, but there was still another Resident Evil movie. It's still anime based, and it he has the same look as the games. Same thing with
Ah,
Jill
yes.
being in there. I forgot the name of it, but I will be watching that like right away when that comes out. Because I've seen everything Resident Evil movie wise so far, so I will watch that almost immediately. I am interested in that one. That would be funny if they turned Jill into Missy Elliott. I don't know if they can get away with that, but anyways,
Oh, is it Resident Evil Death Island?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
you might got it. Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to Resident Evil. Shout out to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a franchise. And please, please give that Power Ranger one a second chance. If they
Well,
can keep the same assets or if they just start over, just start over. But do
yeah.
that and
As we
the
mentioned, Power Rangers.
Transformers. Yeah.
Uh, this year is the 30th anniversary, and next month, Netflix is releasing the 30th anniversary special. So the trailer dropped, and I thought the whole time, the way they've been advertising it and showing pictures, the whole time it looked like a documentary of everybody talking about their time on Power Rangers and how they're happy to be back, blah, blah, blah. And I thought they were going to be filming stuff for Cosmic Fury down
Yeah.
the line. This is its own 30th anniversary reunion special where like a robot Rita returns.
Bro,
And
that's the goofiest thing I've seen in a
it
while.
is. It is.
I thought it was goofy, but
So they're sticking with the
it's
campiness,
fine.
right? The super goofy campy stuff.
Yeah.
Which there is actually a hardcore fan base that is like I've heard, like I've listened to them, and they are very much like 100% against any sort of like growing up, I guess, in Power Rangers, like where you start doing adult tone or like making it more realistic or like serious and everything. They
Yeah.
are like, no, a core part of Power Rangers is campiness and it needs to be there. Like they are hardcore about that.
What's silly
Uh
though about it though is like everybody that they try to bring back is grown. Like
yes, but they got to be campy.
to the point where you alluding to like Trini's daughter being like Zach's daughter possibly or something, or I guess.
Yep. So they're doing that, which is
So
a takeoff from the comics that like that's happened, and they're gonna give a proper send off to Trini. For those wondering, because a lot of people's always like, oh, is Jason David Frank or Amy Jo Johnson? They Jason was filming because this is all filmed last year.
mhm.
Jason David Frank was filming the Legend of the White Dragon, so he was busy, so he couldn't
Right,
come
right.
back for the reunion special. Austin St. John had all of the
All his
lawsuit stuff going
yeah.
on, so he couldn't return. And Amy Jo Johnson said they didn't pretty much pay enough, so she was like, she wasn't gonna come back. Uh, and
She's the
then
one that does a lot, right? She
yes, she's
does
like a director and actor and all this other stuff.
yeah.
So basically, I kind of like the setup though, because it's like season one, they got Billy and Zach. From
Mhm.
season two, they got Rocky. From season three, they got Kat, and then like the future, they got Trini's daughter. Right? Like it's like I like that setup as a 30th anniversary sort of thing.
I was under the impression for a while that that was going to be his own full season on Netflix, separate
Oh
from
no,
what was going on.
I
I
thought
was
it was
looking
going to be
forward to it being that
integrated.
way.
I thought it was going to be integrated as part of the story for Cosmic Fury, and I was just
Yeah.
trying to figure out how, because I know a big thing for Dino Fury, for those that have been watching, and my bad if it's a spoiler, but Zed came back, so the whole big thing is hunting down Zed. So that's why I thought the originals were coming back to stop Zed.
Hmm.
I didn't realize this was his own special.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be teasing. They teased Hyperforce, which a lot of people don't like to consider canon. It's canon. They teased Space Patrol Delta being formed. They've teased a bunch of other stuff, but the 30th anniversary special looks great. I mean, it
Is
looks
that like
cheesy,
an hour
but it
and a
looks
half?
great. I'm excited.
Is it a movie? Like an hour and a half,
It,
2 hours?
I hope so. They haven't said. I really hope it's not like just a 30-minute episode.
That would be the weirdest
Like,
thing if they did all that for that to be 30 minutes.
yeah, I
You
need it to
blink and it's
be
over and it's like, that's it.
at
Like,
least an hour. I'm hoping to like an hour and a half, but we'll
yeah, that
see.
has to be at least an hour and a half, like an actual movie. It looked like it's
Uh,
shot like an extended TV show. That's
it
how it
is.
kind
So
of,
some people were complaining that the graphics look like Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury
yeah, it
and everything,
looks,
like how current Power Rangers is filmed. And
yeah.
everybody else is like, why? They're the ones who filmed it. Like, of course it looks like that.
Yeah, it don't look like it's a movie, but
Nah.
at least the franchise is still coming out with stuff. Shout out to, I guess, Hasbro with all the figures. I haven't really checked back really for that and the Megazords and stuff because I was pretty much done. I know they did all their Street Fighter crossovers and stuff. A lot of it I thought looked goofy. There was some stuff that looked cool, but some of it was looking a little goofy. So I didn't really check back. But at
I
least the
agree.
franchise is still going strong. That's like the main thing. So I look forward to more from it. I look forward to a lot more from it.
Absolutely.
Um, all right. To the controversial ish part, because I still feel like this isn't controversial, but it seems like the press or whatever is making everything that has to do with Xbox controversial. So, what's going on now is, well, we'll start with the first part of it. Apparently, news came out that there was originally a PS5 version of the Redfall game that was originally planned before Xbox bought Bethesda. And then when they did it, they canceled that version, which you could probably, I mean, the news didn't come out, but I could imagine possibly Hi-Fi Rush was in the same case because that was probably even more earlier on. And they probably was just like no to that too, but it was mainly Redfall that the news came out for that. I think they started.
That just proves they're going to take away Call of Duty. They're going to go back on their word. That just proves it, according to Jim Ryan.
You know what's funny though? Like it's so the Call of Duty part is gonna be the second part of this talk, but apparently like the deal that they did with Nintendo is still like as good as does. So like when they officially own it, like Nintendo will still get call or Nintendo will start getting Call of Duty, which would be kind of hilarious to see because
It looks so
like
gross.
you gotta also like call on your phone with the app and do all of that stuff too. If you really,
Can you
that's like
imagine if it's crossplay too? Like you got them 720 graphics.
somebody's just like extra slow moving is and you just picking them apart. I heard it's like that in Apex. I heard like Apex is like that a little bit because Apex has a Switch version. But yeah, for Redfall now, for you being primarily PlayStation, you wipe your feet with Xbox. Well, you probably don't. I'm saying. So, are you
Yeah,
upset? Are you upset with this? Do you feel like this is unfair? Were you
uh,
cheated out of a game? Blah blah blah.
I
Like,
feel I would have liked to have Redfall on PlayStation.
mm-hmm.
However, I wouldn't say I'm cheated out of a game. It's when I hear some of this stuff, as a PlayStation fanboy,
Okay.
I always like thinking, I'm like, well, God of War, Horizon, like we have all these exclusives. It's okay if Xbox has them too. Now it is kind
Yeah.
of messed up that like, this wasn't originally designed as an exclusive and then it just got canceled on us. Like that kind of sucks. But like, okay, it's just a game that I like. I won't play. I maybe that my tune would be different if it was like, Elder Scrolls 6 getting canceled, and then it's like you can't even play it on PC, right? It's like you need an Xbox system. Yeah, I'd probably be a lot more upset.
Now it's
Because
something
that's something
you
that I really
mentioned. You
want.
mentioned. I heard you say, "Well, this is just something I won't play." So I've heard that tone from PlayStation players where they're still like, "I refuse." Not saying that you would probably say that too, but like I've heard people say like, "Well, I'm going to miss Call of Duty for the Call of Duty one and stuff," and they were kind of alluding to the fact that no matter what, they're not going to the other platform. No matter how many other games they start to stack up, just like I don't care.
And then for me, like I have a PC, right? For that reason, I didn't want to also have to buy an Xbox. It was never interesting for me to own all the systems, personally. Um, Now I don't usually like heavily play Call of Duty. I can play Redfall on PC, so I was never like, it was like, oh, like the first thing that really got me for like, oh, maybe I do need an Xbox is because of the Outer Worlds 2 and Elder Scrolls. Like those are two big games for me, and it's like, oh, those won't be on PlayStation at all. So it's just like, yikes. That could convince me to go get an Xbox would be good because I already have a PC. There's no need to do that.
Okay. See, me, I'm the opposite. Not only did I want all the current, I went back and grabbed as much old as I can, and I'm also grabbing emulating stuff. Like I'm doing, it's like I don't want my options to stop. Almost that's the way it kind of seemed for me. But I don't think this is a big deal as far as Redfall because if anybody remembered, they said this early on. I think it actually was with Elder Scrolls because before all these games started to get names and trailers and whatever, Elder Scrolls was the main one everybody was hooping and hollering over. And they asked Phil Spencer, and I remember him specifically saying it was a case by case basis.
Yeah.
That was the thing. And then since then, that's actually what you've seen. You've seen some cases go to other platforms and some cases didn't. Prime example, Psychonauts went to the other platform. It's just the next generation didn't. But a game like Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo actually went to PlayStation first. Right? That's another specific case where it didn't come out simultaneously, and then now we're starting to see those two come back to Xbox. But it's like this to me is just another case where it's just like, okay, this particular case is not going to PlayStation. They're going like right now. I know it looks like going forward, probably the rest of them they're not gonna see fit of putting games on PlayStation. But when they did DLC updates and stuff for like Minecraft, that was still a case where they're still putting it there. Like anything that had already came on there, they were putting it on there. Redfall was a game that did not already go on there, and there was no contractual agreement to put it there. So it was probably going to be fully multiplayer. I don't even know if there was any information about Redfall possibly going to the Switch, but Switch audience don't really care about any of this. Like, I think when it comes to Call of Duty, they're just like, oh, okay. And what's funny is like for a lot of people, I'm pretty sure with that being said, it's almost like probably to the other side, maybe a little disrespectful or like you're not taking me serious. Because when they're saying like, oh, we're going to put it on the Switch too. But they're like, well, ain't nobody going to buy it on the Switch. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, so what? It's going to be like some little rinky-dink cloud version and ain't nobody going to get it. Except for people who want to do reviews for their channels if they call themselves being Switch channels. But outside of that, like who's buying the Switch version? You know? I looked at it as just being a case by case basis. I didn't see how it was that big of a deal, but it was kind of like that. It's funny because it was coming from the same kind of crowd who was like downplaying it before this news came out. Like, oh, that game's going to be bad because it's on Xbox. And then all of a sudden now, oh, this was a game that was taken from us. I was like, all right, I guess. But
now,
yeah,
coming at it from a different perspective, right?
yeah.
Where you think you have one system, it's not like the best interest because of how much time you have to play games. It's probably not the best interest to buy a whole second system, or you don't have the money for it. Things like that. I can see feeling cheated from this, where you're just like, what if this was a game I was interested in playing and now I just can't, right? And that just sucks. I am one of the people that did feel that way before, where it was just like, I got a PlayStation because they had a lot more exclusives, but I used to wonder, like, why do they have to be exclusives? And everything, like, why can't every system just play all the games?
See, this one is a weird case, though, because there was never any announcement beforehand. Like, it was first announced as being... Like, I could see that argument for... Like, it would have been worse if it came out and it was Starfield. Because Starfield is the one that has the name, kinda. It's weird to say it, but it has more buzz behind its name, at least. I can't say name value. Well, maybe. Like, it has more oomph. You know what I mean? Because it was one of them that was like way more anticipated, and like we found out at like one of them Xbox shows that Starfield was definitely going to be exclusive. They made it like known a bunch of times, but then if we found out that one originally wasn't, it's like that would make more sense. Where I could see people being a little bit more upset because it was announced before the merger, but with Redfall, we didn't even know it existed until after the merger, after they did the show. It was like the very last thing that they showed at that E3 show 2021. And it was like, okay, here's Redfall. I think Phil Spencer was like, just like Starfield, this is going to be exclusive. And that kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit because I was like, it's not that serious. But I guess it was, because so many people kept going back to this and they're still doing it now, especially from the PlayStation fan base. And it was just like, kind of annoying. It was annoying because of the whining and complaining over this, because nobody's making any type of... It's not like a trade. Like you would think it would be like a trade. Like, all right, you get this game and we get this game. It's like, no, they're trying to just get your games. Yeah. But none of the other games from the other side. There's not even a mention, even from like these like official people who's doing all this regulating. There's no mention at all to put anything on the other side. The closest thing you got was MLB The Show, and that's just because Major League Baseball was just like, listen, we worldwide out here. So right. It was bigger than them, basically. So that's the closest case that they got, but that's still because of an outside source doing something. Like, PlayStation wasn't willingly doing anything to put any other game on the other side. So I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal to me. It seems like a big deal to everybody else. I will say the Salt videos are entertaining to watch, because that's like the main thing is really just comes down to the braggadocious I got this and you don't kind of thing. But again, it doesn't make that much sense to me if you're an adult, because I feel like at some point you can make a plan to get the other system. Now, if you're a kid and stuff, I can see, like, because I was a kid. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's the thing, because again, as an adult, if you're like constantly working, right, you don't have that much time to play video games, right? But this one seemed really interesting to you. Is it fair to have to drop a whole $500 on a new system to play one game that you're going to only be able to play like 2 hours a week? Like, I feel like that's a very much like no, you just don't play that game then. You have to stick to other stuff, because it's a lot to just drop on.
You know what? I got to push back on that. I would say yes, because that's exactly what PlayStation did between PS4 and PS5. If you looked at it, they told you to get this next system all those people who didn't really have it did it, and then as soon as they did it, they turned right back around and put it on the other system anyway that they already had.
Well, I'm
So
talking about the people who only still have a PS4.
well, even then, like if you still have a PS4, you wasn't getting it anyway. Like you wasn't getting either
Dude,
side.
but now are you saying like when they do have the money to upgrade, now they got to go switch to Xbox instead of getting the PS5 where they can like transfer all their games and everything and continue there? Like I feel like it's a little unfair to just go buy all the systems. Like not everybody can do that. Like they just can't. Not everybody can do that. They got kids. And they're the sole provider for not everybody just has the capability to do that. So I can see being upset at missing out on something specifically that you were looking forward to. Like me, Redfall looked interesting, but I wasn't like, oh my god, this game looks great. So if I don't play it, it's like okay. But like Elder Scrolls 6 is something that I'm really interested in. So if there was like, in order to play that, I need to go buy a whole new system, I'm gonna be upset about it. And I'll probably end up then I'll just have to skip it and just play other stuff because I have a huge backlog of other things to play. But I would be upset that I can't play it. But I have the means to play it. Not everybody does.
The only thing is the companies themselves is the ones saying that more than the fan base, to the point where we've got all of these suits getting involved with the next part, which is Activision Blizzard deal, the CMA and everything that just recently came out about that. Basically, because I'm sick of talking about this deal anyway, right? It's about 95% done with the deal in favor of Xbox, because I think they got over one last hurdle, and then there's like one last piece that they got to get over. So we might end up getting the official announcement like in the next couple of months. But it's about 95% done. But the thing is, like, all of these people are doing this because basically there's so much money involved where they are locking you away from certain games and certain types of. The big one for me that I could think of right now is VR, but
yeah,
like it's to the point where all these other people got to get involved. So they don't care about what your money is. They caring about theirs. So like it's so amazing to me how many like politicians have something to say about this and their little statements here and there and how they were trying to twist it in their favor, and this was being used as that example and stuff. And it was just crazy to me because if it was me, I just want to play whatever I can play, but
yeah.
And
I've always felt like I don't know, I don't like the idea. I've never did like the idea of games being like gate kept. It was just I got the PlayStation because one, I grew up off of PlayStation 1, so I just kind of stuck with it. But two, it was it just seemed like it had like more games, but I was never super for it. I've made jokes here and there, but I've always felt like it should be the console that you got should be more based off of like which one are like you can play with your friends on. It shouldn't be like, well, I can get this game if I have this one, but I can't get this game. Like I hate that idea. Like I feel like that's weird, but hey, if that's the way it goes, then that's the way it goes. Sometimes you're just gonna have to miss out. Like I feel like even if it's like me and it's a game I really want, like Elder Scrolls. If I didn't have a PC and I would just have to miss out, it sucks, but I'll just have to miss out. Like, and I feel like it's okay. Like there's other stuff to play, I guess. To not be that much up in arms about it.
The worst scenario was actually in the Xbox, PlayStation 2, GameCube time. In my opinion, it was Soul Calibur 4, because I remember there was one exclusive character per system.
Yes, I remember that.
And it was like, if you get this version, you get this character. You get this version, you get this. I think it was Link. Spawn of all people. Shout out to Spawn, right? That would have been an interesting game to see if they did like a Spawn only game, but they put Spawn in the Xbox version, right? And then they had What is my man's name in the PlayStation version? I forgot. Tekken guy.
Killer?
Forgot. But yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Star Killer?
I think so.
It was
my man's with the hair. You know.
That's all of them. Jin?
Yeah, I think the spiky hair.
Are you sure? I thought so. Soul Calibur 4 was the one with Darth Vader.
No, I think that was the afterwards because that Darth Vader and the Apprentice was in like I think it was either 5 or 6. 4 was the one that had Link like in one system. Because I think afterwards when they did the Darth Vader and Apprentice one, I think that was in all versions if I remember correctly. And at some point, didn't they do Freddy and Jason or something? One of the two. Or maybe that might have been Mortal Kombat. I don't know. Like, some of these fighter games was doing that, but the point was just that you couldn't get all the characters all in one package, basically.
Correct. And I thought that was so stupid.
Which could have happened with Marvel Avengers. Like, we could have easily saw, like, okay, like, Spider-Man was on one system. Maybe they put Black Panther on one and Hawkeye on the other. But it was mainly just Spider-Man on the PlayStation one. But then now that game is like RIP.
Yeah, the Star Wars guys were on PlayStation. Because I remember I specifically got it to play a Star Killer.
Which one was it then?
Oh, let's see. Hold on. So, because it said, Soul Calibur 4, Darth Vader, Yoda, The Apprentice.
Was it 4?
And
I could have sworn 4 was the one with Link and the other one. Maybe it was 3 or 5. I don't know.
Link was in Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2 was Link. Yeah, and then Hiachi is the Tekken character for PlayStation 2. Link, and then Spawn for the Xbox. Because I remember my friend had Soul Calibur 2, and he had an Xbox, so he had Spawn on his. And I never bought the game because I would just go over his house to play. And then I remember when Soul Calibur 4 came out and I got it, then The Apprentice was in there.
Okay. Yeah. I got the numbers wrong, but yeah.
Soul Calibur 5 has Kratos. Or no, Soul Calibur Broken Destiny, sorry, has Kratos. Soul Calibur 5 has the Assassin's Creed guy and Jin from Tekken.
Yeah, you would have to really, really, really care and have some sort of modding capabilities and play a PC version and somehow, recreate it or put them in there, however you can do it. That's like the only way I can see where you create some sort of Smash Ultimate version where they put them all in there. But yeah, they split it all up during that time. But anyways, Activision Blizzard deal is almost as good as closed. And yeah, so there's that, I guess. And so far, that the interesting thing about it was, I remember the news came out before where Jim Ryan was saying he didn't want a new deal. He just wanted to block the deal or something like that. So the way that looks to me is going forward, the deal is going to be where Call of Duty is going to be on Xbox and Nintendo. And PlayStation just gets the contract that it already has until that runs out. That's how it looks. Because if we remember correctly, they rejected the 10-year deal. And I think there was like also a statement made from Microsoft side that made people mad too, where they said 10 years is more than enough time for you to create a competitor or something like that. That was mentioned. Which I honestly think that's kind of true, because the way I look at it, for me, I'm like, it's a shooter with online capabilities and cutscenes. Like, what else really? Because even with Call of Duty, it's like, if you was playing a campaign, you played the campaign, and then you watch the cutscene, and then you're back in the campaign.
It has to do with the online part.
Yeah, so I don't see why they can't just... I feel like in that 10 years, they could make 3. It's a shooter with cutscenes. All right. I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm just saying, like, what are we talking about? Left trigger is the aim. Right trigger is the shoot. Reload is going to be the left button. Switch weapons is going to be the up button or triangle button. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's a shooter with cutscenes. I don't understand why it's a shooter with cutscenes. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, we can move on from that. Shout out to this deal being almost done. I don't want to talk about it too much more. I will probably make a vid when it's officially done. When it's officially, which probably will be in a month or two. But yeah, we can move on from that. We can go ahead into the middle portion, which is where I talk about the free games and sales and deals with our unofficial sponsor. Gotta love the unofficial sponsor who should have paid us by now. This is Epic Games. If you remember, you do not need to have a account with, well, you do need an account, but you don't need to have your credit card or debit card in the account. For that same person you was talking about who ain't got no money, you can still create an account and you can still claim everything every week until you actually get some money, and then you can make or you can buy a PC, make it or build it, and then you'll have all this stuff here at least on the PC side. So for the first game, Chess Ultra, that's going to be available from now until March 30th. For anybody, honestly don't think I know how to play chess. Chess is one of those games where I know how to play it every other year. Did I forget? I don't know.
I know how to play.
Yeah, so here's Chess Ultra. You can play that. You can claim that from now until March 30th. And then the World of Warships Starter Pack is also available from now until March 30th. And then the next thing is a game called Tunchi. Not to be confused with Lil Wayne. I think Lil Wayne calls himself that.
That was my first thought. When I saw it, I was like, Tunchi.
So that's available from March 30th to April 6th. Tunchi. And a couple things that I pointed or that I found, I guess, sales wise. Silent Hill 4 The Room on Good Old Games is $7.49. You can go check that out. Yakuza 6 The Song of Life is $4.75 on Game Billet for Steam. Under Xbox Live, it is $4.99, and then it is also available on Game Pass and PS Plus Extra. And then Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is $7.99 on the eShop. I noticed that. And then Celeste, here's a game that I recommend that I've played quite a big deal of. Celeste is $4.99 on Steam, and I believe right now it is also on PS Plus Extra. And then only like one or two things left. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is $15.99 on PSN right now. If you get the Cross Gym bundle, is $19.99. The other version, I think that's the only version that it shows. And then the last thing is to mention that the Resident Evil 4 is coming out with a DLC on April 7th, which I believe is similar to like all the other DLCs that they do for their Resident Evil games. That is going to be like a part of their online thing, because they come out with some sort of multiplayer with their online games. And the last one had a nice amount of people playing it on Resident Evil 3. So yeah. And then one last thing I do see here, Resident Evil 6 on Steam is $5.75 if you get it for a code under Games Planet, and then it's $7.99 under the PSN Store and Xbox Live. So yeah, did you hear about Nintendo giving away a free Wild Explorer's Guide for Zelda Breath of the Wild?
I did not. I'm not used to hearing Nintendo and free anything.
Apparently they have that. If you go under their website, you'll be able to find it quite easily. But I guess they want you to wrap up the first one so that you can get straight to the second one. Yeah, so they're doing that. Another thing I wanted to mention, because I don't think we had too many mentions of this that much, but that Smash Brothers game for Crash. So Crash Team
Oh yeah.
Rumble is going to be releasing June 20th on all platforms. And they have two versions. There's a standard, which is $29.99, and the deluxe, which is $39.99. And so there's also going to be a beta for it on April 20th to the 24th. So you can sign up for that, and then you can, be a beta tester for them. Yeah. All right. It looks like I got a couple other things. So, okay. Alien Isolation on Steam is going to be $6.29 if you go under a game billet. And then Left 4 Dead 2 is 99 cents on Steam if you have never played that. So yeah. You know what? One last one. As Dusk Falls is on Game Pass, but if you want to just buy it, that is $9.89. Remember, that was a game that won some game award at the Game Awards last year. Story driven, you just sit back with a popcorn, point and click, So yeah, I think that's all I got for sales. Anything you on your end? Anything you saw?
No, of course not.
Of course not. My cause wants you to pay all the money. The same person who just advocated for the poor guy, he wants you to pay full price, ladies and gentlemen. He ain't give you no sales. All right. The next game I actually wanted to talk about real quick. This could be very brief. Sonic Origins Plus. So this has a pre-order that's going to that's out for everywhere for like $39.99. I'm just trying to figure out, why does this exist? That's just my thought.
For the Sonic fan, I don't know.
It don't make sense because they got Sonic Mania. I was looking at like almost not everything, but it like closely like overlaps a lot. I don't understand why they did it again, but it's you could pre-order it for.
It's not the same.
What's the difference between the Mega Man one and I know they did another one like a year ago or 2 years ago. I remember seeing it. I don't remember the name though, but it's like, just make a new one. You know what's funny though? Sonic, they did make a new
Mega
one.
Man Legacy Collection and then the Mega Man Battle Network Collection.
It's like, why did you just put them all in? Like, I don't know. It's just a head scratcher. But when I looked at the details of Sonic Origins, I'm like, y'all got Sonic Mania. That bad boy on sale. Like, and it's already on all the systems. Like, I don't understand. So, I don't know how many times you could do that. And with Mega Man, it's like, okay, just make a new Mega Man game, full HD, third person maybe, or maybe you can keep a second or side scrolling. But with Sonic, it's like, yo, you did just make a new Sonic game, so how are you packaging everything again? I feel like everybody already owned this. If you own Mania, it's like, definitely look at this. Like, what is actually missing here? I don't know. I was just confused because I'm just like, it's just there, and I don't know why it's there. Are you getting this? Are you excited?
No, of course not. No, I don't need this. I have Sonic Mania, but I don't know. It's just, it exists to squeeze whatever money they can out of the Sega, the Sonic person who needs to collect them all.
I guess. Well, anyways,
I have a game that shouldn't exist but does.
All right, go
ahead. So there's this dating sim that does your taxes for you. It's called Tax Haven 3000, right? And it's one of those dating sim games where it's, you click adventures and it's just all text, and you're like talking to the character, but the character like wants to get to know you personally and like know things like your social security number and stuff. And so you start putting in that information, and then it prepares your taxes for you. The game was on Steam but got removed. The creator's trying to get it back on Steam because he doesn't understand why it was removed.
Did they give a reason for it?
No, why it was removed? No.
Yeah.
It was there, then it wasn't. Now, according to the creator, he's like, I don't get any of your information. Like, he's like, none of it is sent to me or anything like that. And he just said that his reason why he made it was he feels like TurboTax and a lot of those other like tax things are there to try and scare you, like with the way they ask questions and they make doing taxes intimidating, or they charge you for it, right? You have to pay to get your taxes done. Where they said like all rich people, the taxes just kind of get done and prepared by somebody. They never really have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't think it's fair, so that's why this game was supposed to be a free game where anybody could use it and it'll prepare your taxes for you, as opposed to like, I think for TurboTax, there's certain ones where it's like, if you make under this certain amount, then you can use it for free. If not, you have to prepare it with something else, and they're not really intuitive. You have to figure it out on your own. Where he's
Okay.
like, well, this thing is going to ask you all the necessary things you need, and when you're done, the game pretty much prints you a PDF that you can mail out. Is the idea, and it's just in the design of a dating sim. So you can't, I don't know if it's true. I'm not trying to advocate for this guy. I wouldn't suggest throwing your social security number just out there to people. Like, I'm just saying. However, if what he's saying is true, his intentions are nice, and it's an interesting way to help people and like make sure everybody can get taxes done for free, as opposed to like having to go to a specific place and pay.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust that, but I mean,
I would do it, but like
at the
I
same
said,
time, like you ain't got that much time anyway. Like,
well,
for a
that's
lot
why
of people, I
doesn't count.
wouldn't. They would have already figured out what they was gonna do. Like, because this game, if anything, isn't it useless after April 15th or anything? Like, it's
Something like that. But I mean, they still got like a couple weeks.
I wouldn't touch
Not
this.
everybody filed already, so like I mean, like I said, I wouldn't just be throwing my social security number into stuff. But if it is an honest thing, and if we take his word for it, uh, he looks like he's trying to make a more, I guess, accessible way for people to get their taxes done.
I mean, if it's still just a game, I wouldn't mind you putting fake information in there just to see what happened. If
He
you
did
really just
say
wanted to do.
also, if you
So
do play overseas, you'll be able to like play it, but it's gonna act all like basically you can only play but so much because it's gonna start asking you for like information that doesn't count to you because you don't live in America.
uh, yeah, I don't know about. I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of investigation comes out of this. I would not be surprised because at the same time, identity theft still happens,
Yep.
and somebody can still be a victim of identity theft and play this game, and it even could not even happen because of the game, but they're going to mention it. Like
Yep.
that's a rabbit hole that I wouldn't have even like been a part of, but more power to him. I'm pretty sure he thought of everything
Can you
and
imagine like the look on like some cops? They have to be like a 50-year-old cop who's one of those like I don't really give video game stuff, right? Like their mindset, video games are Mario, and that's it.
yeah.
Uh, and then all of a sudden, when you're trying to show the person where your identity may have been stolen, and like like a 20-something-year-old, and you open your screen and it's like, "What's your social security number, senpai?" I want to see that cop's reaction.
That's crazy. I did mine the regular way. I had already done it. I think everybody else should do it that way. Do not do it through here. Play it if you really want to play it. It don't really seem like a game you want to play anyway for me. I
No,
don't
if
know.
you do it through here, please let us know so we can know how it works.
What is the name of the game? What's the name
Tax
of it?
Haven 3000.
Tax Haven 3000. All right.
Yep.
And this is on PC or is it everywhere?
It's PC.
Just PC.
Yep,
All
it's
right.
no longer on Steam, but I think you can find it from one of those like
Web
ITO.
websites or something that actually will
Yeah.
take the information.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know for a lot of people, once it's off Steam, forget about it. So I don't know how many people going like. It'd be weird to go out of your way to try to do it. You know, if you didn't have regular access to it anywhere else. But more power to you if you want to do it. I don't. I'm not doing it. But yeah, we can move on. I do wanted to mention the little show, indie-ish show that happened called the Future Game Show. This was about an hour and a half. This was like, yeah, hour and a half, and I think like from the recording they had like a 30-minute wait or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, hour and a half on this, and then they had a bunch of games. I do like the fact that they still was giving you a variety of stuff at this show, but I myself wasn't as interested in everything. You were, it sounded like. You picked a lot of things, right?
Yeah,
From
there
this?
was a few on here that like caught my eye.
Right.
Do you want me to start mentioning them?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Witchfire, which already interests me from before, looked great. It's just a first-person shooter with magic and guns, and that looked good. Arc Runner looked interesting, as well. Like I just wrote the names down. I didn't remember what they were, but Arc Runner looked interesting as well. So I'm looking it up to make sure what this was. It was a 3-person co-op shooter.
Okay.
That seemed interesting. Yeah, it was like up to 3 players, and you're just kind of shooting robots. Wrestle Story. It's a turn-based wrestling game. So I was like, yeah, I want to check that one out.
That was one that I saw. I was like, oh, I'll highlight it because it was wrestling, but I don't think I actually want to play it. But yeah, I
Okay,
saw
and then
it.
there was Synced. I wanted to look more into because it just looks like a
Yeah.
co-op shooter.
Now that one
Uh,
was one that I did like. So it
with
was
the Robo.
a rogue looter shooter. Yep, developed by Nex Studios, and it's a techno-apocalyptic future game
Yeah,
where you are a runner who joins the war with a deadly techno creatures, and they call them nanos apparently. So that was one of the only ones. It is free to play, so
yep.
it's
Free to
one of
play. It
those.
looked a little like what did it remind me of like Warframe.
Yeah. So that was one of the main ones that I liked. The only other one was one that I actually did talk about on this channel months before, which was called After Us. It was
Okay.
like one of those futuristic looking platformer games that has a little bit of like a exploration and puzzle like elements in there. And so I believe the description was that you explore the corners of a surreal post-human world to give life on Earth a second chance. And it also had like a lot of Attack on Titan looking creatures on here where they was just like these giant naked people. So I didn't know what was going on, but they, if you get too close, they try to attack you, that type of thing. So there's that. A lot of art style with like a lot of 3D art style with a lot of bright lights and stuff, and I thought it was very artsy. And that was the main one because it was one that I mentioned before. They just showed it again here. Developed by Piccolo,
Okay.
published by Private Division. So yeah, that's the main other one. That was it for me though, to be honest. It
Okay.
was just those two.
So I
um
also liked based off of the presentation, Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, the little pirate game
mhm.
that looked like a turn-based like pirate stealing adventure with Ghost and everything looked a little interesting. Ember Knight looked a little interesting. It was you're a little fire guy and you're just like fighting a bunch of stuff in like an old school looking
Mhm.
dungeon crawler sort of game. Uh Primordials Legends Hollow Hero, which just looked like Biomutant, but you're a wombat instead.
Silly.
Yeah, Brunt, an anthropomorphic wombat who's on her first adventure. Like there was that one. That was just, it just looked like Biomutant, but you're a wombat now.
Okay.
Uh, and then Go Fight Fantastic. I wanted to look more into. Like it looked like more just like an okay sort of game. Nothing that was like, oh man, I really look interested in that one. Again, it's like a little team turn-based looking game, or not turn-based, but like roguelike game. There was a lot of roguelike
Yeah.
games. Uh,
I
which I
hear
thought was
people are
interesting.
kind of sick of that too. In general,
Roguelikes.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
it's
guess it's
because
easy to
usually
make because it's not.
it's
Yeah,
also there's just a spike in difficulty, and it's just how far can you get, and then you die, and then you restart, and you get
yeah,
a few new weapons and everything. So it's like basically you can really just make like 5 levels and just like make it to where they need to die 4 times before they get the real thing that they need in order to win.
yeah.
Uh, so that does suck. One that it wasn't a game that I want to get, but a game that caught my attention was Axolotl.
Okay.
So it was the animal and axolotl, which is like this. Everybody like once they saw it, for some reason it got really popular. It's this weird little lizard thing that's in South America. However, this one it's AK, and then Zolotl, where it's just they were like talking about how it's a deadly creature. And it's like this one's deadly because it carries an AK-47. So you're just
Oh
like an
my gosh.
axolotl shooting a bunch of stuff. And yeah, that's what it's called. Axolotl. Like if that game falls to like here's $5 on Steam, I might consider getting it.
It probably will. I think a lot of games here is in that Steam sale category kind of thing where that's when you pay
Uh-huh.
attention. Um, how you feel about the show in general, like as a show?
It was okay. It's always interesting because like if these games, I guess, were showing off in the middle of like things I'm actually looking for, then I wouldn't have found 8 that I liked because it'd be like this is wasting my time. Show me Wolverine or something like that. So it was interesting to see. I don't know. It was okay. Like I had to speed. Like I kind of sped through it. I played it at like 1.75 speed while like sitting watching, and it was all right.
I
What you think?
I watched dual screen, so I had the first half on one, the first half on the other one. So it wasn't really that long for me, but it was a conveyor belt of stuff that I didn't necessarily care for. I didn't think the show was bad, but I think the show should be exactly 1 hour. I don't think it should ever go past that. I think they
I
should
agree.
police that a little bit more because some of the bigger shows are kind of like that. Like directs and stuff would be 40 to 45 minutes, and
Uh huh.
they'll rapid fire some stuff for like maybe like 5 to 10 minutes at a time, but not just a whole bunch of stuff. I don't like the pacing with Nintendo shows though when they do that. Cause sometimes it's just like here's another port, here's another port, here's another port. So I think each one should have the type of time that this show gave. Because I do think they did a good job of explaining everything. It should just come out to being just 1 hour, and if not, save some of that other stuff for a future show. Because it sounded like they were going to like keep this going forward for a while because they announced that they were doing their own like they were going to do their own channel and have this coming up regularly. So I think going forward they're probably going to have a show like every quarter, because normally you see this during the E3 shows, because that's what it was like the last E3 and I think the one before it. It was like two of them too, like back to back. And I remember always thinking that the E3 week was just packed with way too many shows because there's only so much you could see. And it's
Uh
kind of
huh.
an overkill. But if they're like, I remember then I still said, like, if you do a show, like one of these shows once a month, that's a little bit better. And it sounds like at least for this, they're going to do a show like once every 3 months. And so I think that's a better idea than putting everything during that E3 week, because typically when you think E3, you just want to see what's happening with the bigger shows anyway. And it's funny because this year they're not, none of them are going to be there, because I don't know what, they're just not going to be there. And then there's the Jeff Keighley thing where he does his own summer show like the week before, and it was just like way too much at the same time. So I like that this one is in his own time slot, between the other shows and stuff. And I would like to see that more going forward with some of the other ones like Capcom, and then I believe Bandai Namco, like all these other places they was having shows during E3, and it was just like too much in a week. Like E3 should be like a month, and it should be
Uh
like,
huh. Well,
like
yeah, but I don't know. I
yeah,
kind of liked it as like just the one week. I watched it over a month, but I got to like Like, I don't know, it was all that week. It wasn't that overwhelming of like the entire month of stuff.
I just didn't like it because it was 2 hours a day almost, and then
Yeah,
some stuff was like I get what people were saying, like it's a whole event and stuff when you're there in person, but when you start talking about the real views and stuff, I'm like, well, the people who are there in person is maybe like 5,000 people or less or something. It ain't like once you start talking about real views and everybody else is like, well, the rest of us, 400,000 strong, we're not in the building. So,
right.
like, I don't know, but we'll see how E3 goes going forward, because it sounds like they're still going to have their stuff however they do it. So it's going to be all third party, but at least we got a preview here. Going forward, definitely 60 minutes tops, please. I at least appreciate that they didn't do too many corny skits and stuff, because I
No, just
remember
a little jokes in between, which was fine.
I think it was the PC showcase where they straight up was doing full skits with people you don't know, and I'm just like, yo, like, why? Like, no. So yeah, keep the format as far as like explaining games and stuff and just showing them, but 60 minutes, please. That's all I got to say on that. Can move forward. We're probably gonna be wrapping up a little bit early. So the next thing, you want to tell me you saw the Shazam movie, right?
Yeah,
You saw this movie?
I saw Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I personally enjoyed it. Anybody who's a DC fan, I would say go see it. It's a good movie. I think there's a lot of things that hurt this movie. There's been a lot of drama surrounding it. So
Okay.
one, it doesn't help that James Gunn was already on some like we're gonna restart everything, right? Because
Mhm.
then it just kind of made this movie feel like it wasn't important anymore because everything's gonna be reset. So anything that this leads to, it was like, who cares? Like everything's about to be thrown away anyways. Uh this was actually supposed to come out originally after The Flash.
Okay.
So I remember the director even mentioned that their costumes are slightly different. And part of the comic books was after Flashpoint was all fixed and he returned. Certain storylines changed, other storylines remained the same, but costumes were just different. And it was like never really explained. And he was going to do that as like a fun node from the comics, where it's just everything in Shazam 1 happened, but now their costumes are just different and no one's going to say anything and like point it out. But then it ended up coming out before The Flash. Now, the other issue is from the first movie, there was a deleted scene where the six of them, like of the Shazam family, sit in thrones in their like
Mhm.
throne room, and there's an extra chair there, and it was supposed to be for Black Adam. And they're like, I wonder who's supposed to be there. The issue is apparently The Rock walked in and just ruined everything. Like based off of all these reports that Zachary Levi has been sharing, they originally did want Superman to actually cameo in the first Flash movie instead of just a face like a headless like stand-in, but he was just
Mhm.
busy. They just really couldn't get him in for the movie. However, with The Rock, the issue was The Rock walked in and wanted everything to revolve around him and Henry Cavill, Superman and Black Adam. That should have been what everything revolves around now.
Mm.
Black Adam is a Shazam villain. And he
Yeah.
was just like, no, ignore that. It's me and Superman. So he refused to let Shazam feature in Black Adam. He refused to let anybody that was a part of Black Adam feature in Shazam. So there's a whole spoiler, deleted scene that involves some people that was coming to go see Shazam.
Okay.
Without spoiling too much, but it was originally supposed to be two Justice Society members, Hawkman and Cyclone, and it's not them. They used two other characters instead, and it was apparently because The Rock said they can't appear there. So they gave Rock a lot of power apparently in this, and he was really trying to disconnect Black Adam from Shazam, which is weird because it's like that's where he comes from. Like you can't disconnect those two, and it's believed now that The Rock is the reason him and Henry Cavill got fired. And like why James Gunn is revolving like not them. So there's rumors that he could still keep Zachary Levi's the Shazam, and Ezra's the Flash, and Momoa as Aquaman, and the other kid is Blue Beetle. Like, there's rumors that all of them stay and everything. It's just apparently the whole Rock being out and Henry Cavill being out is because of the Rock and the
He out here
demands he kept trying to make.
politicking. He politicking like if it was wrestling, basically.
Yes, and ruined stuff. So, man, that's the way it sounds. And I think the issue with DC is they didn't have a person in charge. So, as much as I really prefer Henry Cavill as Superman, I want to see what James Gunn does, because even if you get different directors, like with Marvel, there was Kevin Feige in charge to make sure everything followed a specific like way, where DC didn't have that. So every director got to just kind of do what they want. They had Snyder, but then Warner Bros. Was like, we don't like Snyder for some reason. So they kept fighting against everything he would do. So that every director got to kind of do what they want. And then if they work together, cool. If not, whatever. And that's what ruined everything. They didn't have a person organizing stuff. So everybody got to politic what they want. And it didn't work out that way. So hopefully James Gunn can fix that.
That's interesting because there wasn't a lot of elitism when it came to Avengers. It seemed like everybody was able to coexist no matter how many people you put on screen. They played their parts, they got their movies done, and they made the MCU what it is today. Now, like after Endgame, it was a little shaky, but I mean,
The Rock said, nah.
Yeah, I don't know. So
But
maybe they figure it out.
Hopefully James Gunn can figure it out. But moving on from that really quick, speaking of Snyder, he's holding an event called Snyder Con. Right, he has his own con that's going to be taking place, I think, next month or something like that. Oh yeah, April, the end of April, and it's a 3-day event where day 1 there'll be a film or a showing of Man of Steel. Day 2 will be Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition.
They showing the movies in person with everybody. Okay.
Yep, and then day 3 is going to be the Zack Snyder Justice League, the 6-hour one. Or I guess the 4-hour one.
Nice that he's acknowledging the other.
Yep. So it's his trilogy of stuff, and he's going to be talking about other stuff, behind the scenes things. People think that he's going to end up announcing that he has some deal with Netflix that he gets to continue the Snyderverse stuff. I doubt it, because Warner Bros. Doesn't like to share things. Like for a while, they were like, if the character's going to be in movies, they're not allowed to be on TV. So I doubt they're going to allow them to be in 2 separate movies. So there's that. However, the event's already sold out.
Okay.
So good luck trying to find
it located.
It was in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
The first night the tickets were $150 each. The second night, the tickets were $150 each. And the third night, the tickets were $175 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then parking costs it was like $30, but you get $25 back. I don't know how that worked, but
you get nothing back. But okay.
Yeah. But anyways, all of the proceeds go to the AFSP, which is the Prevention Foundation. I know YouTube doesn't like a specific word in that, but the AFSP is where all proceeds go, which I think is really cool. Because I know, of course, that's near and dear to Snyder's heart. So, yeah, it just seems like an interesting. I don't know. It's just the fact that he knows he has that much of a loyal fan base, and the fact that he can hold this event and then still all the proceeds just go to something positive, in a way where it's like he could have easily just pocketed all this and everything, capitalizing on his fan base, but instead using it to help something, I think is a nice thing.
Yeah, if he wasn't charging that much, like $150 a person, it don't seem like he would do that anyway. But how many people do they have a particular size amount of the event?
Well, let's see, the Art Center College of Design Auditorium. So it didn't say, because it just says 0 tickets remaining. But if it's a college auditorium, I'm imagining
under $1,000 or under $1,000.
Yeah, under $1,000, but around somewhere between 200 to 500 probably.
Okay, so then yeah, it would have made sense for it to fill up really quick there, and
Yeah.
yeah, if you watch the movies in there, yeah, that
Other people and
yeah, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. It seemed like it would be the event would be the announcement of the event probably gonna be bigger than the event itself if you talk about like only 500 people, but that is still pretty cool though. That's pretty
oh yeah.
cool for them to do that. Um, I guess let's go back to The Rock real quick. Well, not really The Rock, but I guess it kind of segues into like one other thing. Um, WrestleMania is around the corner.
There is.
What day is that? Do you know?
Next not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. April 2nd? April 1st and hold on. Is it that soon? WrestleMania. April 1st and April 2nd. So not tomorrow, but not the day of this release, but a week away.
So
We're a week away from WrestleMania.
and you definitely gonna be watching it, right? You gonna be watching it.
Yes.
So I just wanted to mention it because I want to get back into it afterwards, but I was just saying like maybe you can give us a recap on the 2 days, like the following week. And I know they used to do they used to make the Monday after a really big deal. I don't know if it's still like that, but at least for the 2 days of the event, maybe you could tell us how it is. Do they have like an NXT event like right before it too, or do they
Yes.
stop?
NXT, what's it called? Oh, because it's no longer stand and deliver. So
Okay,
NXT.
they used to be
Oh, is it stand and deliver?
takeovers.
It sure is stand and deliver. Never mind. NXT stand and deliver. Uh, yep. So right now, it looks like. I mean, it looks like some good matches. You got Gargano versus Great. Like Johnny Gargano went back to NXT for a
Okay,
second to fight Grayson Waller. That was
okay.
because it's not a demotion where some people think
They
it's a
needed
demotion.
him, I guess.
It's he's always considered like pretty much Mr. NXT. And
Hmm.
Grayson Waller was out here, which was like the person who sent him off when he was going off to the main roster. Grayson beat him up, and then he went off to the main roster. But then he was out here talking about how NXT is trash and like he can't wait to leave and like everybody's beneath him. So then Mr. NXT came back to put him in his place, essentially.
Okay.
Is that Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship, which I think is interesting because I feel like both of them could be called up the next night. So it's interesting that they're fighting each other. Uh, a bunch of the women for the NXT Women's Championship. And then more for the Women's Tag Team Championship, which I'll go into detail like after the event. We
Okay.
got a fatal five way for the NXT North American. Triple threat tag team match for the NXT tag, and then an 8-person mixed tag team match based off of two teams that's been like really going at each other. We're gonna see The Rock's daughter. Uh,
Okay.
she's part of one of those teams.
And this will be her like debut or whatever.
I don't know if it's her debut. I think she's been wrestling a little bit before that, but I think this is her first pay per view match.
Okay. All right. Big deal for her. Too bad her
Yeah,
dad can't come back and finally have his match with Roman, but
yeah.
take what we can get, I guess. Take what we can get. But yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that because that was something I wanted to have more, at least with the podcast, but I ain't been watching it. It ain't really been that interesting. I had stopped downloading altogether, or I shouldn't say that, but yeah. So I want to just give a shout out back to wrestling because they're still doing big things overall. Yeah. I think that's almost it. I do want to mention real quick. For anybody into retro, like there's been what I've been doing in behind the scenes is just like gathering a bunch of stuff for some of these little retro devices that I talked about like 2-3 weeks ago. And there's so many different ones, but the main one is the Mayu Mini Plus that I think is red
Uh-huh.
hot right now. But what I just want people to do is take a look back at some of them older titles, like on PlayStation 1 specifically, and even Game Boy Advance. But like, there was so many games that I almost can consider like a hidden gem now because there was stuff that I just didn't even know existed that are on that like that particular system that like you could play on your phone at this point, you know, like, and I would just say like do what I'm doing. So right now I am I'm like going on like a list, kind of like Wikipedia, or you can go on anywhere and find a list of just like all the games, period. And I'll cut and paste each name into YouTube and look at like a few minutes here and there of somebody's like long play. And I was just blown away at like the stuff they were able to achieve on the PlayStation 1. And I'd say like, yo, definitely, probably even for the PS2 for a lot of people, go back and look at some of those games and like, you know, find a way to play them. If you play them officially, or if you play them like on your computer or even on your phone, like some of that stuff is just awesome. And then to have it in handheld mode is even more like awesome. Cause yeah, I can admit like a lot of that stuff don't look that good if you blow it up anymore. But on a small device, man, it is some cool stuff there. A lot of our games, like on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and also PC, like we're on like number 9 and 10 for a lot of these games. So many sequels, so many remakes, but all the originals was there. Like the start of a lot of franchises is right there. And it was just a lot of stuff there that I think that people can find a lot of value in. And then there's this the whole area of like devices that just keep being made that I don't know if everybody should get into all of those. Because some of them are a little expensive. Because I don't think you really should spend over $100 on like an emulator device or something.
Uh-huh.
You know, even though you play like a whole bunch of different systems, I think that's a little much, especially if your phone can handle like the smaller stuffs like Game Boy. But yeah, definitely look into that stuff because there's a lot of hidden gems there. A lot. Like I'm in the very beginning of like going through the list. Like I go by letter from the letters of the alphabet. And I was just going down each like name of a game by letter. And so right now I'm on like letter E. So I'm still early on, and this is on PlayStation 1. But I've gathered so many games that's like, okay, I want to play this. You know, from my childhood that I miss, that you know how like you would be in the store, you see like all those games there and they had all those kiosks. It just don't have the same feeling anymore with the games just being in the store now, because like you could just buy them. But before, when you couldn't buy them, you could only see them like every day or every week whenever you go shopping with a parent or something. And that was it. That was your only way of seeing it and playing like the demos in the store. But now like that stuff is available right in your fingertips. And I just think that is just an amazing achievement in technology, especially when you're talking about for certain games or certain systems. You can have the entire, like, I want to say the entire library for like no space whatsoever on your like hard drive or your phone or whatever. Extremely small how big those files are. They're very small. So definitely look them up. I'm looking at PlayStation stuff right now, and hopefully in about 2 weeks I'll be finished with that. And then I am getting one of those devices like I mentioned before. The device I chose was the Mayu Mini Plus. That's probably the best one out there if you are going to look into that. But I will say they are scalping them like crazy, and you can only get them when they're available. And I don't think it's going to be like that as long as like how the PlayStation and the Xbox was. But I'm being patient with it because it's not that big of a deal because I can still access the games anyway. But the next big shipment for that one, I believe, is in the middle of April, and it's going to be under AliExpress and then a couple other places like keepretro.com for anybody interested in that. But don't get your hopes up because apparently it goes real quick by scalpers, which is silly because it's like, do not pay over $100 for any of these devices. They are worth $50 to $60. They're basically Game Boy Color clones or whatever, but it does a whole lot more internally. But like it looks like a Game Boy. Like I think I could see like our Discord, like one of the previous messages still shows it in the Discord. Like that's exactly what they look like. And I'm getting like the black one basically. I don't want that white one. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure for a lot of people, like definitely double check with your phone first. If you're somebody who don't got the funds for it, your phone probably does it. You just probably can't put everything on your phone at the same time. I want to, like, I'm one of those people who still want to get all the systems if I can. Even though like certain ones, like I don't, it's no point in me getting like for example, the GameCube. Technically, there's no point in me getting because I have a back compat Wii, and then at the same time, the Dolphin emulator is almost flawless. But at some point, I wouldn't mind just having it just because, like literally just because I'm just that much in love with the idea of playing them. But shout out to the footage on screen, dog. When I tell you, I did not know I was supposed to do the shield strike at that moment, and I was just hitting them because I was like, because I was going at it with this person for like 30-40 minutes. But yeah, that's all I got for this podcast. I don't know what else to talk about. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we go? I think we're gonna end early. But
no, I'm all good. I got to complain about the state of DC. I just want it to be better, and I want a AAA Power Ranger game.
Yeah,
give me what I want.
To be transparent with the people, usually we take like a little bit of a break and then we play a different game like for about 3-4 more hours. And so we're actually going to play Borderlands pre-sequel, and that's going to be like one of the last Borderlands before we go into Borderlands 3 and Tiny Tina at some point. Yep. For anybody who was interested. So we go through some of the co-op games. I guess I'll list them off real quick. So far we've done Resident Evil 5 and 6. That was actually our introduction to Resident Evil. For me, it was. I don't know if it was for you. And then afterwards, I went back myself and was starting to play all the individual ones and played through the originals, and I was kind of fell in love with the series. And then we went from that to I think Zombie Army 4, if I'm not mistaken. Then we went from that to World War Z, and then the Remnant from the Ashes, I believe. Or we may have done Borderlands 1 before that or after. But then we did Borderlands 1 and 2. And
It Takes Two?
Yeah, It Takes Two is in there somewhere. Buddy Raiders for like half a second. A couple of the games for like half a second. And then... The Division 2. The Division 2. There was Tales of something. I don't know. It was whatever that game was, where it was like a top-down medieval-ish, and then we just dropped that too. But
the Trials of Midgard.
That's that one. Yeah.
Or Tribes of Midgard. Yep.
So the shooter stick, basically, the shooter stick. Not so much anything else. So. Pre-sequel is what we're going to play next, and then we're going to probably go into Destiny, since they released some of that DLC for free, I guess, or at least under PS Plus, and then more of some other stuff, and then Remnant 2 at some point. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. That is the end of the podcast. Everybody else, like, comment, share, subscribe. I am going to do a solo vid to give praise to TMNT later on, and advocate a little bit more for a Power Rangers one for myself, as well as Transformers Fall and War Cybertron. Like, not necessarily a sequel to that, but just that same kind of gameplay, if possible. I don't know who could pick it up and do that, because I know it was under High Moon, and that was Activision, and they so caught up in the Call of Duty stuff, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I also want to mention there's going to be a nice video that's more for the people. It's not going to have me in there too much. It's just going to be more audio based. And I'm going to do a highlight of a bunch of games that I wish listed recently. And hardly any of them, none of them came from the Future Game Show, but it's going to have somewhat of that type of format in a way. It's going to be a little bit more rapid pace, but it's supposed to be at most like around 20. It's going to be a lot longer than some of the ones I've done in the past. But yeah, that's going to come out maybe, if not next week or this week coming up. the week after. And yeah, that's about it for this. Thank you so much for watching. We're back to being under an hour and a half, or we're under 2 hours. Let's see how long we can keep that going. And have a great rest of your day. That's it. Peace.